Those are
All
some
right.
those are some sassy spectacles you have on
I
there.
see.
Are they? They're more Italian than Swiss, though.
Yeah, definitely Italian. Hey, style is everything, right? At least for an Italian.
Yeah. So full disclosure, like Nico didn't even have an Instagram page until this morning. So
No, I did
go
this for
like
you guys.
Nico's Instagram page where he has a picture of himself looking all sassy. You're gonna become an Instagram guy. We'll get you.
Absolutely.
We'll drag you into the 21st century one of these
All
days.
right. Oh,
It's
hey.
just like search for chocolate. There's so much great chocolate on there. Just you
I
can
know there is a
justify
lot
it.
of great things, but then I will be addicted again, and it's crazy. I don't have enough time.
I stopped going on Facebook. I haven't been on Facebook now in over 2 months because I had a little Facebook problem. And I was tired of hearing about what was going on in the world. Like
Yeah, I bet.
between like the election and COVID, it was just like I was done. I couldn't do it anymore. So, all right. So
All right.
I introduced you before you came on, but why don't you? You have a really long title, like your innovation center, innovation manager, and stuff. So what you work for Lindt Sprüngli.
I work for Lindt Sprüngli USA. Yeah, in Stratham, New Hampshire. The white Stratham, New Hampshire. Like we have a
Did
lot of snow coming right
did you
now.
get a lot
So
of? Yeah, we're getting flurries. I was just talking about that too, but it's
yeah,
not
we
snowing
had
a lot.
probably now 2, 3 inches, and it's still snowing. So
Got
there's
it.
our Halloween traditional snow. We have that basically every year almost. And I came in 2012, and I think I have 1 or 2 Halloween only without snow. So luckily it's this one, and then we wait until January to add them more. So I'm
Got
cool
it.
with that. So my title is the director of R&D, and I wear different hats for Lindt. So I'm in charge of the global innovation for one of our key brands, that is Lindor. So that's the reason why I had a lot of innovation. So there I'm basically in charge of the pipeline build out and the innovation strategy for our brand when it comes down to Lindor, like either truffle flavors or formats or new packages, whatever. So I work a lot with the global marketing team and the global R&D teams around the world. And then here in Stratum, I'm in charge of the innovation, so product development, technology, so new machinery, new implementation, new project in our retail stores or in all sales, and the sensory and compliance. So basically everything that goes from thinking to a product down to basically create the label for that product at the end. So, and taking a lot of the consumer insights. So my group is a large group of people that works on different topics that goes basically everything around chocolate.
So what, you're there like part-time? You were there like what, 2-3 hours a day, then you kind of go home and
Yeah, I mainly spend my time running, cycling and golfing, and then sometime I come here for a couple of 12 hours or a day, something like that. My problem is working with the global team, you never have a schedule, right? So we're talking this morning, it's 3 hour ahead, 3 hour earlier than us in San Leandro, where we have our Ghirardelli team, and this now 5 hour behind us in Europe, where I work with the European, and it's 12 hour behind us and ahead of us, sorry, in Australia when I work with my teams there. So it's really interesting, very odd hours meetings. Definitely, we cannot have one team meeting all together if somebody needs to work at night. So one of those conditions. But yeah, it's interesting.
how big?
My team. Yeah. So go ahead.
I was gonna say, how big is your team? Like your team?
My team here in Stratham is mainly 10 people, but then my dotted team around the world is roughly 35 people in R&D in different roles, and plus the marketing team that doesn't report to me. I basically have a peer that I work with in the international marketing, and there are roughly 50 of them. So it's a large group to trying to have everybody on a call, but definitely it's very interesting. Before the pandemic it was easier. We were like all meeting, so we have twice a year meeting where we all meet in person, so it's easier, but we'll make it happen anyway.
We have two on my team. There's
Good.
me and there's Beth. We usually
Okay.
meet in the kitchen, like usually in the mornings, we do that, and then we talk about what we have to talk about, and then we go about our day.
That's easy. Sort of.
You would think it would be ezy, right? It somehow
No,
doesn't.
it's
never easy.
In R&D, nothing gets easy. I will always say that if it was easy, it was a different job. So.
But that probably, your days don't look alike. I mean, Monday is different than Tuesday, and every Monday is different than every Monday. And
I rarely have a day that looks like the others, and that's probably the reason why I do this job. I hate routines, and I have a really hard time to deal with routines. So I love this job because every day is different, and you never know what happens. So be also in charge of like technology and help support the production team with troubleshooting is interesting because every day it's something different, and you can learn every day something new. So and our machinery find always something to add up that you don't know, so you need to study and figure it out. So it's cool to be in an environment where you are stimulated to learn and to continuously grow. So,
do you spend much time on the bench personally, or do you have people?
Personally, my product developer team spend the majority of their time, but I'm always going to lab. I would say at least once a month to have my hand dirty. I don't want to lose those skills anyway. I really love, and especially if I spend too many hours in meetings, then I need my team always said I need real life experience. So I either go downstairs in the plant and I walk with the plant and I start looking at product and talk with the operators, or go in a lab creating something or help doing something. We also have several videos that we do for internal usage on how to use chocolate for our teams. I do that too, so I don't want to lose that connection with the product. And it's my real love, so I don't want to lose it. I will never be able to do only an office job. So.
But I think Lindt is the largest employer in New Hampshire, right?
Yeah, it's one of the larger in the sea. It's the larger in the Seacoast, one of the larger in the New England area. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But
private, yep.
And you're doing everything. You're not processing beans at that plant, but you're doing.
Yes, yeah. No, here in Stratham, we go from bean to bar. So we receive beans from the different location, either is Ecuador or Ghana or Madagascar or. We started now last year a full program with the DR, Dominican Republic beans as well. And basically, we receive the beans in New York, we store them in New Jersey, and then we ship it here where we basically clean them, winnowing them, roast them, and do everything. We have our plant is basically go from raw beans to shipping to our DCs. So we taste and beans every day. Like that's a very, very interesting part of my job too. Tasting bean and be sure that we blend beans, so we don't have chocolate that is made out of one bean only here in Stratham. We have some from our sister company, but here in Stratham we do very similar to how we do champagne, right? We blend different characteristics to create different blends. And so it's very interesting because every day we taste the beans, and accordingly to the seasonality and when they were harvested and so on, we need to adjust that meaning. So we have a group of people that taste beans and liquors every day to adjust them and to be sure that they are in line with our sensory and quality standards. So I eat a lot of chocolate.
I was going to say that's a lot of stuff. Like
that's a lot of chocolate. That's the reason why I'm doing
Yeah, I
this
mean,
job.
it's so like, I mean, you know me, like I know a lot of the Calabo people and, a bunch of different chocolate companies, and, they bring that process up to finished chocolate, right? And then even for the Calabos in the world, if they're doing finished, that's happening across the street or at another plant, right? And they're not doing everything in one facility. I mean, to then turn around and make finished goods with centers and other things, that's a big umbrella, man. That's a lot.
It's a lot of complexity, I would say, especially for our technology team. We have technology team members that come from all over the world. We have a program in place in Lindt where basically we select our technology team starting out of college, and they work in different plants before having their final assignment and help them to really gather that knowledge. And this is interesting because there are only 2 plants that actually have everything in one place. That's us and our sister company in France. Everybody also has a separated building or separated facility where they process the beans, produce the liquor, and ship it to their facility, because you have to think that Switzerland, as well as Italy, as well as Germany, were historical buildings. So Lindt, Switzerland is now one of the bigger facilities that we have, where we also built our new competency center that opened a couple of weeks ago for our 175th anniversary, and it's beautiful and it's very interesting, where we have all our innovation center for Europe, but also they're landlocked. They're on the Lake of Zurich, in one of the prime places just outside Zurich. And that's where we built our factory 175 years ago, and we're still there. We bought some of the land, but now we ran out of space. So all our liquor was moved a few miles away, and then we process the liquor and move it. Here in Stratham, we are basically, our liquor plant where we process the beans is probably 50 feet from the building where we are actually making the masses. So it's connected by pipes and goes straight from one place to another. So our technology team needs to know a lot of different technology, from roasting to winnowing and cleaning, down to molding and filling, or even packing. So it's really interesting. But we
not
have
like
roughly,
not like the old days. The liquor just came over, right? I think I remember some
that
documentary I saw.
Yeah, in the old days, we were importing liquor from Switzerland, yes, in blocks, 1,000 kilos blocks, so 2,200 pound blocks of solid liquor that was coming here, and we were slowly melting it, but that was in the 90s. We started the Lindt facility here in Stockholm in 1989, and we started actually producing chocolate here in 92, and that's where it was with blocks, but now we're too big. We're too big to do so.
But you've been with Lindt. You've been with Lindt, what, 12 years? You said.
I started with Lindt in 2007. So I started in Lindt, Italy. So prior to that, I worked 4 years in a company that was importing beers from Germany to Italy, and my job was technical support. So I was basically customizing beers for our customer in Italy. So I was working with the German company too. It was very interesting, and we also did a lot of work with wine. So that was very interesting. So wine and beer was my work before chocolate. But
do you have a food science background, or do you have an engineering background?
So I went to high school in what they call it here in the US, the Culinary Institute. So it was high school for me, and then I work in Michelin star and 5-star hotel for basically all my high school career, because between like holidays, so in the winter break and summer break, our school was finding us jobs for to learn more about cooking. So, and then after that, when I finished my 5 years high school, because in Italy it's 5 years, I worked for a 5-star hotel in Sicily that was owned at the time from Dolce & Gabbana. And I was...
Hey, Nico,
yeah.
I worked at this pizza place called Golden Crust, where we made pizza and we made cheesesteaks. That was my high school,
Hey.
like same path. We're on the same Dolce & Gabbana, 3-star Michelin hotel, pizza place, American pizza place. Yeah, they're the same.
The important is they give you learn something. I always think I was lucky because I love that job, and I was good at it. So I'm still cooking as now, but I'm not good as I was good at when I was 18, definitely. But and there I basically started doing some molecular cooking. There was 2000, 1992, 1998. Yeah, so 1998. So it was the whole start of the molecular cooking movement coming from Spain and so on. So I was very, very intrigued. So I came home and I went to do some courses, and I discovered actually there was a science behind it. It was a food science. So I signed up for college, and I basically did my master degree in food science with specific attention to wine and fermentation in general. That was my minor in my food science degree. And then when I graduate after my master, I worked for 2 years in the college where I graduate, where I teach sensory science, and at the same time I was doing my PhD in biotechnology. Then working on a gluten-free beer. That project was then acquired by a very big beer company in Europe, and then I decided to basically leave the PhD and trying to go back to the real world. And that's where I started working for the beer company.
You're a smart dude.
No, I'm not book smart. but I'm passionate about what I do. So see, it gets easy for me to learn when I like something. But don't ask me anything in math or physics. I'm not book smart. So, but I think a lot of people that are working in this industry are really passionate for what they do, and it's easy to learn when it's something that you're passionate about.
Yeah, I've been doing a series for the PMCA, right? And I was watching a video that or an interview that I did with Ed Wilson. I'm sure you've met Ed.
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And Ed's a super great guy, right? I mean, he's really humble, and he's done all sorts of stuff, and and he's telling stories about like, hey, I didn't know anything. I went for a company, we were going to start making chocolate, and I said, okay, I'll help. And I think, but the point is that you're right. When confection chocolate people, like, we love what we do. Like, I think we generally, we'll work long days, and we'll read at home just because we want to learn it, even if we didn't think we could, right? I mean,
and I think another thing that you can really, for me, I will say for me, it's easier is that whatever you learn in the conventional industry, you can make it with your hands. Like, you don't need super complex processes, right? If you learn how to do, I don't know, freeze-dried fruits, it's not something that you can do at home, right? But when you learn the tempering and you know how to temper by hand, you can also discover how to temper in different way. You can study what is the science behind it, and learn how to like create a silk that stabilizes your chocolate, whatever, But
right.
all those things you can both experience by hand. It's not something that you can read in a book and think that that's how it works. So I think that's a huge advantage. Is when you talk about Maillard reaction and caramelization, you can actually do a caramel on your stove. Maybe it's not stable as you do it on a kettle in production, but you can experience that. You can experiment that. And I think that's a huge advantage if you're passionate for what you do, to learn. And you learn, that's what I'm saying. I'm not book smart. I'm learning. I love to learn by doing it. And then, of course, I want to learn. And for me, the learning is a journey. So I love more the journey than what I never stop reading, or I never stop learning, because for me, it's the journey that it's engaging me. When I learn something, I like it to use it, but then I want to move on. What is the next level? And that was always like this for me.
Yeah, so Nico agreed to do this because I kind of bullied him into it this week, because Nico and I were doing a presentation for the PMCA about colored cocoa butter. And, there are people online in classes selling products that were way more advanced than kind of the stuff that we did this week. But you're right. We've got to start somewhere, right? And whether I'm hand winnowing beans and I'm grinding those in a juicer and then putting them in a stone melange for 3 days, right? Yeah. Or you're sourcing containers of beans from Ghana and the Dominican Republic. We're doing the same stuff, right? And we can make great product both of those ways. I mean, there's a piece of equipment behind me, that's a more than my car, almost the price of my house behind me, that's designed to make ganache shapes so we can coat them in chocolate, right? And, I guess in Italy that they're coated in cocoa powder and they're sold in 100 and 200 gram packages, and that's why this machine exists, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But I can do exactly the same thing across the hall on the marble. It just takes me a lot longer.
Exactly. Right? That's the beauty of this industry, I think. Yeah. And what you learn and how you can apply the nice part is you can apply from your little experimental kitchen or like your own little online business and it's the same knowledge and the same activity can scale it up to multi-billion-dollar company, and there is no big differences, right? Yes, of course, Lindt has big conches where you can conch a huge amount of chocolate, but you can create the same conching effect using hair dryer and a Hobart mixer and a lot of patience. Like, so that's the beauty of it. If you want to, and also the industry today is offering a lot of opportunity, as you mentioned, right? You have those big machinery behind you, or you can do it on the table. You can conch your own chocolate or work with vendors that sell you different type of chocolate, and you can mix and create your own mixture. So that's the nice part of this job. Is not that, I think is endless opportunity where how you can customize and create it around it. It doesn't matter how big or small the opportunity is.
Yeah, I meet a lot of people. Like I get, part of my role, I get to meet people that are at different stages along the way, right? So we meet people that are pretty much still at home, and a $200 mold project is a reach, right? And then we took an order today, our largest order ever, that was pretty significant for equipment, and so that company is a lot farther down the road. They're not you guys, obviously, but and it's like we're all looking at the same stuff, right?
Yeah.
We're all talking. We're talking the same language. We're talking about ultimately what our customers want and need, and how do we produce a great product for our customer. Whether we're making, I bet that Linder line's rolling, 1 million parts a day, or I'm happy if I get 32 truffles out of my molds today, at home after work.
Yeah, but I think it's important that the passion and the attention to the quality that what you do is there, no matter how big or small the project is, right? And at the very end, what we want to do is to have somebody smiling and see a smile on their face when somebody is eating your product. Doesn't matter how big or how costly it is. And for me, the interesting part is that it comes down always to the taste and to the experience. And for us, when we develop a new product that may generate millions of dollars of sales, happen in a kitchen, like you said, on a marble. Our product developer works on a marble like if they were home or in a small kitchen, because that's where you really are able to create. It's not that we go look at a big millions of dollar machine and say, hey, let's do this, and it happens. So there is always that passion behind that. For me is the key, but also thinking about the consumer at the end, because we do this we make this because people are having pleasure consuming it. I don't think anybody's buying chocolate because they need to have chocolate in their diet. This is always something that you buy to reward yourself, to treat somebody that you love, or like that's why chocolate exists, why candy exists. So we're basically giving away free smiles.
Yeah.
I have a lot of chocolate today, so.
Yeah, so I was a hotel guy for a while too, right? And I worked for a big banquet type hotel where we did a ton of weddings. And there's a day I'm making this wedding cake, and I'm not a happy guy about it, right? Like the sales team sold it for too low a price. It's taken us too long to make. I'm spinning the cake and like I'm grumbling. And my chef walks in, my executive chef walks in, and he goes, Brian, let me talk to you for a minute. Come here. And he goes, 2 things. Keep this in mind. This is the most important day in this woman's life so far. And 2, we're in the memory business. Go back and finish that cake. And I think like the cool thing about confection is we are in the memory business.
Oh yeah.
Like you called it free smiles, I call it memories. I agree. There's these great opportunities where a box of, at Christmas or your holiday of choice, a box of Linder balls gets given to somebody and it makes them smile, right? It makes them happy. It makes them grateful for the gift that they've been given, right? I'm going to cry. If you're not going to cry, I'm going to cry, right? And I think those are, who else gets to do that? Like nobody gets to do that.
No, I agree. No, not our industry. I agree with you. I think if you are in the meat business or in the ice cream business, or if you are in the yogurt business, you don't have this opportunity. I agree.
No.
And I'm really glad that this is happening. And it's probably, you mentioned, like we have a very similar heritage, right? I come from the restaurants and pastry business where that's what it is. This is, you go and especially when you go to those, was always my experience, when you work in star Michelin restaurant or high star Michelin, yes, they are a small part of people are very, very rich and snob, and they do that because they can do, but they don't care. But 90% of the people that attend those places and go to those places is to have an experience, to do something once in a lifetime or once a year that really make the difference. Right. And the same in chocolate. I never saw anybody buying a box of chocolate every week just to have a box of chocolate, right? Or, oh, I'm buying 5 bars of chocolate because I need to have it on the stove because I use it every day. I'm in this business now for many, many years, and I never know anybody that does that. Not even, I mean, I have free chocolate, so I am very glad that Lindt gave me. And this is funny because when I was little, I was always passionate about cooking since I was probably 2, 3 years old. So I never played with like little cars or anything. I was playing with pan and cooking and things, and pretending cooking. And when I was probably 5 or 6 years old, my mom kept saying it. All my friends want to be an astronaut or want to be, from Italy, a Formula One car driver driving a Ferrari, and I want to eat free chocolate. Like this was like, what do you want to do when you grow up? I want to have free candies. That was my dream when I was a kid. And then now being old, but still having a job where you can get all the free candy that you want, then yeah, I'm still there. So I'm very young in spirit.
Right, but I mean, but we are in that is what we do, right? Like I worked for Borders Books when I was in culinary school. It was my job, right? So I worked at the bookstore, and one of the things about Borders Books was at the register they had 3 bins of Lindt balls.
Oh, really?
Right, and they were 50 cents a piece, 3 for $1, right? And it was like a thing. Like it was like who could sell more Lindt balls in a shift? But that little treat, that 50 cents, right? The regular customers that were looking for the thing that they knew was going to improve their day or was going to like ride around in their purse, or do you want that in the bag? No, I'm going to eat it on the way to the car. That's a cool thing that we have, right?
Oh, yeah, I mean, definitely.
That's a specific brand for you. I mean, that's your company made that difference in those people's lives on that day.
Oh yeah, no, and
right?
It's a treat. It's always a treat, and that's what as Lindt we always treat chocolate for us as a treat. Like we are not telling people, oh yeah, buy chocolate, it's so good for your health, or buy dark chocolates, give you more antioxidant than red wine. For us, chocolate is a treat. So have it because you deserve it. Get a truffle because you deserve it. Right.
And that I worked for a Swiss company for a while too, and I think that's sort of a Swiss thinking about chocolate. That there's no guise of like, we're gonna put out premium products because you're not supposed to eat them all the time, because you're not supposed to eat 5 pounds of them today. It's not going to be inexpensive, but it's gonna knock your socks off every time you eat it. I mean, I think that's a Swiss thing in some ways about chocolate, if you think about it.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's because anyway, in Italy too, right? You don't get sweet because you want, just because it's sweet. You want to have a sweet because it's a treat. Like you do something good, you can have a treat. You do something good at school, you get a treat. You like it, and it's about that. And for us, it's traditionally like that. And even nowadays, my kids get chocolate only if they do something great. I don't feed them like truffle every day, but not because I don't think it's healthy, but I think that it's good that they have to deserve it. Like they have to. It's an award for me. It's something that they can get because they did something right, and not just because I work in a chocolate factory. So go knock yourself on chocolate, right? But it's always like that, and that's really traditional for us in Europe. Is how we grow up with. So I don't know.
No, but I think it's just a different way of thinking, right? I mean, it's a little like that in our house too. That there's always chocolate on the counter. Like sometimes there's a 25-pound case of chocolate on the counter because I might need it. Who knows? I might want to make something tonight when I get home.
Or is one of that night that you are watching those movies and you need to eat something, right?
I mean, but my daughter doesn't blow her mind. Like she kind of thinks that everybody has a 25-pound box of chocolate on their kitchen counter.
Yeah.
But she doesn't race home to get it because she knows that it is there. It's a special thing, and we're going to use it, and we're going to make something special with it, or we're going to do something, I was having a conversation with Steve Ginzoli, who I'm assuming you know well.
Absolutely.
And we were talking about s'mores, right? And he goes, well, the only time I make a s'more, it's with a Ghirardelli caramel square and a coconut marshmallow. It was like, that's a pretty rock star s'more. You know, I mean,
I need to try.
s'mores probably aren't made with Hershey bars and Stay Puft in your house.
At my house,
Yeah.
we don't make s'more. It's not something that we eat. My kids are like, if they hear the word marshmallow, they cannot get to a cookie. They just go straight from the fire to the mouth. So I never saw them put them anywhere else. Like they're very eager marshmallow eaters. So
All right. So next summer,
I will give it a try.
you got to try a s'more. Like once a
No,
month,
no,
or
I know it's more. But yeah, I know it's more, and we made it at our house. Well, we use Lindt chocolate also because we have it, and but yeah, usually it's very rare I can get more than one because my kids are eating all of the marshmallows. Yeah, they really like marshmallows.
got it. So how'd you end up? So what were you doing for Lindt in Italy? Same kind of
So
stuff.
in Italy, I joined Lindt as innovation, with focus on innovation. So Lindt back in 2007 wanted to really focusing on how to innovate the brands on wholesale. So Lindt Italy before 2005 was mainly focused on what we call a classic trade in Europe. So all the pastry shop and coffee shops and so on. So they were not in the wholesale business. So in 2005, they started work on the wholesale business, and they found that their traditional products were too expensive and not really focused to the wholesale consumers that want some more easy to pick, like bag or boxes and so on. So my job, I was hired to basically focusing on do innovation for them, looking at the consumer needs and the consumer opportunity. Then I eventually became the R&D manager, so I was basically overseeing the technology and the product development side of the business. And then in 2011, our former CEO and our vice president here asked me if I was interested to join the team here in the US to build a US R&D, because prior to that, Lindt USA was basically do innovation through our Swiss team. So the Swiss team was developing for the American market, but they had, of course, beside the time, was also different raw material, and basically the major difference is different consumer with different expectation and different. So I accepted to come over in 2011. So I moved here in 2012, and I started building the team from scratch. So it was a very interesting and very I would say not complicated, but very interesting dynamics, because for me it was a completely different approach on how to work, different expectation from our consumers, different type of business, where here wholesale is so quick and so big, coming from Europe where wholesale is big but not big as like even Carrefour or Auchan, the big chain in Europe, are probably a third of Walmart. So when you do a launch here with Walmart or Target, you see volume exploding on your hands. So
Right.
and it's very quick. So I didn't expect that. So I had to adapt on the US market very quickly. So for me, it was a very interesting learning curve. I have to say the organization was prepared for it. So it was very interesting journey for me, and ended up in 2017 when we opened the innovation center here in Stratham, so the new building that we are in right now. So before, I was working with the QA team in the former QA labs, and I have a small part of. So my R&D, when I started, it was barely a corner of a table with a piece of marble on it. And then slightly we took more space, and we added one person, then two, then three, then more space. Then we built the innovation center, and now we're like a bigger group, and we keep growing. So it's always very interesting.
It's got nothing to do with chocolate. How was the transition moving to the United States? I mean, you were married at the time, right?
Yeah, I was married with one kid. So I was married with my wife, and we had a kid. No, that I was married with a kid. And then I moved here, and it was very interesting. So my wife was a little bit shocked because my wife was she's a surgeon, and she grew up and lived her life in downtown Milan, so 2 million people city. And
That's rough.
we moved to a small town called a New Market, in a beautiful building that was built in the 17th century, all in stones, that looks over a beautiful river and forest. That is almost 2,000 people town. So my wife went from 2 million people to 2,000 people town, and she moved here in the winter of 2012, beginning of 2013, 2 weeks before the Nemo storm hit New Hampshire. So we went from no snow to basically 4 feet of snow in one night, and that was not a good starting for her. So it was rough at the beginning, especially because we were not used to driving along just for grocery, or we were not used to the American way to do things. And right now, I have to tell you, almost 10 years after, 8 years after, it's hard for us to go back. I mean, we got so accustomed to the US life that you start noticing what you don't like. Like, here's a lot of things, especially in New England, things works very well. If you go in the post office, you go in, you go out. Like, you do your things, 5 minutes, you leave. Then you go back to Italy, you go to the post office, and you spend 2 hours in a line trying to ship a package. It gets to your nerve. You go in a supermarket here, they're enormous, and you find everything. You go in Italy, and I love to grocery shopping, so I go to those little stores. But my wife, that has her minutes counted, she's like, gosh, I need to go to this store and this store and this store. I need to do a line here, line here, line here. It's taking me 3 hours. Why? Like, or you come here in the US and you you go to a restaurant. We were going to a restaurant before the pandemic.
At one point, we went to the grocery store. At one point, we went to the restaurant, but not.
Yeah, exactly. I remember when I was going to the restaurant here in the US, and they, you have your, you get there, you have your hostess, and they give you a table, and they're very accommodating. And then, like a year ago, my wife and I and the kids, we went to a pizza place in Milan, and we were chatting with each other. So we were waiting at the entrance, and nobody's looking at us. And so we got pissed off. And then I stopped at one of the waiters and say, guys, what it takes to give us a table? And he looked at me and said, sir, you can sit anywhere. I said, oh, yeah, you're right. So we wasted 20 minutes waiting for somebody to give us a table, when in Italy you just walk in and you sit down. So it's really, you get used to all of that. But I think there are good and bads in both countries. And the experience was great. I have to say, I was lucky that even though New Hampshire per se is not built with welcoming people like in the Midwest, I was lucky that a lot of my colleagues are either foreigners or have experience in other countries. So it was easy for me through them to get to know better the area, to create my network. And also have a kid that was in school age helped us also to meet with other parents and do sports. So I think it helped out a lot. But right now we're happy here. And I mean, New Hampshire is great. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, I didn't left New Hampshire in the last 12 months. So probably 12 months too many. I was used to travel a lot, and not traveling now. It's like, it's a beautiful place, but it's a cage. Like, after that, you see always the same places. I love to travel, and my family too. So it's getting longer and longer, and now the snow is not helping.
Yeah, I missed, like, my travel, right? I was like, I missed it. I missed traveling, and then I didn't miss traveling, and now I'm kind of like back to missing it again. I'm just like, okay, it's been 42 weeks. That's long enough. I'm supposed to go do what I'm supposed to go. I'm supposed to go do my job. And
for me, and I don't know for the people that are following this call now, but for me, the bigger, and this conversation I with some of my colleagues in the R&D is, for me, also traveling was not just a matter of traveling, was experiences.
Yeah.
And those experiences generate a lot of creativity, because you see those things, you see what other people do, you see different people, and all that enrich you, and then you can bring that down to when you create a new product. It's very hard. Don't travel, and even my team feel like they're in a creative rut, because they see always the same people. And then the risk is that you basically put your head into a TV or a screen, and that's just shut your brain down, and you don't experience those new flavor, you don't experience those new people, you don't experience those new places. And it's now for me getting into the point where I need to have that experience again, and I don't know how to. And I see out in the market a lot of people now looking for like experiences through like food or to material or to things that you buy. And
it's interesting. I was talking to one of our, like, I miss going to our customers. I miss being in plants. I miss like seeing product being made. Like, I know how I make product. Like, I'm not getting something new from how I make stuff. But I was on the phone yesterday with a customer, and he's like, so we've taken to the habit of every week we order a box of chocolate from a competitor, and we taste it together as a team on Tuesday morning or Wednesday morning, whatever it was, because that's all we can do. Right? Like we aren't going to trade shows. We aren't going to chocolate festivals. So every week we put a box of chocolate on the table.
Good idea, actually.
And sometimes it's really good, and sometimes it's not so good. And sometimes it makes me tell my employees, hey, this is how you can be better. Right? This is what you need to do to be better, whether the colors are better, or the shells are better, or the flavors are better. And sometimes it's like, hey, what do you think about that? Like, could we do something like this?
Oh, that's actually pretty cool.
Yeah, it was a really cool idea. And I'm thinking about instituting on our team. I mean, and I think to that end, right? I mean, like, it's innovation is creativity, is new things. And, that I went to Venezuela in, 2005 and to tour cocoa plantations, right? Which I'm sure you've toured cocoa plantations all over the world. But this is my first trip to plantation, and the one thing that, other than the cocoa plantations, that I walked away from was I had for dinner a chicken dish with strawberry risotto at the hotel I was staying at in Caracas. And like this light bulb went off about desserts with strawberries and rice, that I had never thought about it that way. And if I'm not going to that hotel and having dinner,
I don't experience it. Yeah, exactly.
I don't get that brainstorm as quickly. And you're right. I mean, I think that's what I'm missing. I'm missing the opportunity to see new things
exactly.
So
even go see restaurants, what they do, see all those things are. But we'll go back eventually. I feel like at one point in time. I hope so, at least.
Now there's 6-7 months, and all will be well.
I really hope that it is what it is. Yeah.
Are your kids going to school, or are they studying from home?
They do an hybrid, so they do a few days in school, a few days at home. So it works out pretty well. Not for my wife, but.
So you said your wife came from Milan and is a surgeon. Does she work? Does she do her surgeon tool stuff in the U.S.?
No, she doesn't. For different reason, but basically, she really enjoying the family right now. So I think she discovered a new reality because we had immediately after we came a year later, we had our second child, and she experienced a different experience with the second child, because on the first child, basically she went back to work right away, and the life of a surgeon, when you go to work, you don't know what time you come home. And so she lost a lot of those little things, like first time the kid says something, or the first time the tooth comes out, or the first time they eat together, or the first time. So I think she really enjoyed that. Now we're 3 kids, so I think, but she has her hands full now. So.
Got it. Are you guys Americans now, or will you go back to Italy?
We don't know what life will bring. I was not expecting to come to US 8 years ago. I don't know when I will go back, if I will go back, if I go somewhere else. I don't know. I'm always open to new. As I said, for me, learning is a journey and work is a journey. So I don't know where this career will bring me, but definitely we're happy where we are. But we're always open to see what our future will bring us. So. I'm lucky that my kids speak different languages, so that helps as well. So if we'll go back to Italy, they speak and read, and they're fluent in Italian as well as English. If we stay, that's even better for them. And if we go somewhere else, I think they already have the mindset But we travel so much. We were traveling so much that for them, it's not that easy. I think my son was the older when we traveled the first time, and he was 6 months old, and we went to Dubai. My both daughters were on intercontinental planes when they were less than 3 months old, and since then they always travel. So I think my kids have more miles under their belly than a lot of adults. So definitely they are not scary of the world. And I think it's an important thing for our young generation to see that there are other things and that they don't live inside a screen, but the life is outside and they can experience it. So, because for me, it's a shame to see so many teens today that live their lives on an iPad or on iPhone. So, but this is me.
I'm sorry, what? Were you talking? I didn't hear you.
Exactly. No, but
as I interview you on my iPad, you know, but other than that, hey, this has nothing to do with chocolate, but one time we were teaching together and you were talking about your dad, and he worked for a cool company and did cool stuff. So can you tell me briefly about that?
Sure. So he basically retired now, but he spent his time painting cars. Let's put it this way. Now, he was basically, his job for 39 years was to design a line that paint cars. Cars usually red. The main color is red. Yeah.
Fast cars. Really fast
cars,
Italian cars.
Yeah. So he worked for a lot of company. He designed a lot of plan to paint like Lamborghinis and Ferraris and Maserati and Fiat, and you name it, he painted. So I think he did a good job. I always was surrounded by fancy cars, so I'm lucky. And I think it skipped a generation because my son is a car addicted. He's a car addicted. So just to say, my parents basically spent the last few months being in Italy, being in one of the areas more affected by the COVID. They basically never went anywhere. But my dad went to see the Mille Miglia and see all those old cars and all the new Ferraris, because they had the Mille Miglia this year was also including all the new Ferraris. So basically, he spent his day looking at cars. Like, he never left the house, but for cars, he did it. So.
Got it. All right. So, Nico, I asked this question to everyone, so no insult intended. You're at your local grocery store and you're at the checkout aisle, right? And all the mass market candy is right there. And you decide you want a little treat. Which one do you buy?
Tic Tac.
I like your answer. Though they're better in Switzerland.
Well, I don't know. I love Tic Tac, especially the mint Tic Tac.
Oh, Tic Tac. I thought you said Tic Tac. See?
No, Tic Tac. No, the little Tic Tac, the mint.
What flavor?
Mint, like the white one. I love that one because I love the mint and vanilla taste. I don't know. I grew up with it, and I love it. So if I buy a treat, that's it. And I have to be careful because I eat the whole little box. So I just.
Well, their ads say it's only like 1 calorie a piece, so that's only like 52 calories in that whole container.
Could be. I don't know. I don't look. Honestly, for me, it's a treat, so I'm not looking calories when I got my treats. And then I go for a run.
Taking through this whole conversation about the Lindt ads, with like the chef stirring the big pot of like whatever it is, and then pouring into the Linder balls. That's what I've been thinking about the whole time. And wondering if it was you that they, used for that ad.
Not for that one specifically, no. We rarely use the actual Master Chocolatier for our global advertise, only because there is a lot of issue with the property of images. So me being a Lindt employee, I cannot receive any reward or payment for my images. But so it's easier to use actors. What I have to tell you is that there is a lot of attention behind. Like, we just recorded a year ago, and it's just live now on YouTube and Instagram and so on, the new Lindt advertising, Lindor. And I spent a few weeks working on how to do the activities, and then I went to the shooting area when we shooted the advertising to train the actor that we select on doing actually working with chocolate. So
Right.
he actually spent 3 days working with me, learning how to temper, even though he didn't need it. Is because to get the real movement, the real positions, really understand how that works, and also all the recording for the Lindt advertising was interesting because we work with this company and we work with real chocolate. So it was interesting because all those splashes and chocolate and moves, it was all made with real chocolate. So it was pretty cool to actually do all that in real life for advertising. But we do that we're trying to do that all the time. But those master chocolatier are mainly actors.
All right. But I'm glad you trained him. That now I feel like I kind of like I've got a connection to that guy.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, Nico, I told you this is only gonna be like a half hour, 45 minutes, so I'm gonna let you go because I know getting you to sit down for more than like 20 is impossible.
No, I need to walk now.
I know. You need to go do some work.
Exactly.
But, hey, thank you so much for like getting an Instagram account and then like spending some time with us. We had a bunch of people here the whole time. So this has been great. Thanks.
Thank you for having me with you, and we'll see what happens now with my Instagram profile. Maybe I will start using it.
Yeah. Hey, and like next time I'm allowed to go anywhere, I'm coming to visit. I want the big soup to nuts tour of the Lindt plant, New Hampshire. Next time I'm out that way.
Deal.
Sound good? All right, man.
Right.
Appreciate it. Peace.
Thank you. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.